So I'll start with what I was expecting from Toodee and Topdee. Toodee and Topdee is a game that I thought it was a puzzle game with platforming elements, or in other words, a platforming game with puzzle elements. But I thought the mix, it would be constant, and this is really important for what I'll say next: positive, negatives, and the final score. My idea, what I thought without playing the game, is that this mix of two genres, it would be constant, like it's 40-60 or 30-70. The mix of puzzle elements and platforming, if it's 40-60, it would be 40-60 throughout the whole game. But it turned out it wasn't exactly like this. The game that I got in the end started being as a puzzle game with very light platforming elements. It was mainly a puzzle game. You have to solve the level, like think about how to solve the level, and then you apply, or you use the platforming and jumping and moving boxes or moving elements around just to solve the puzzle. But it was mainly a puzzle game. But as the game progressed, it turned this 40-60, it was more like 50-50, and then 60-40, and 70-30, and 80-20, and so on. So by the end of the game, it was no longer a puzzle game, it was a platforming game with light puzzle elements. So it started being something, and it flipped as it progressed. And this is what I got in the end. I am still happy, I like the game, but the reason that we don't finish it 100%, which is something that I usually do, it's because by the end it was more a platforming game than a puzzle game. That's what I play on stream, and that's the reason we didn't continue playing. But the game overall, the concept and the things that it does and how it does them, it was really nice, it was fun, and I enjoyed my time. I don't have big issues with the game. Have some negatives and some positives as well, 2 and 2, that I'll talk about next, but that's my overall opinion. I like the game. It's a mix of two elements with more weight on one side than the other, but it flipped, and by the end of the game it was the opposite. I have 2 positives and 2 negatives. I'll start with the positives. My first positive, it's something that I've already mentioned, that I liked that this game does, which is the concept. The concept of the game is this mix, and it's something that I've seen before, but not like in this game. This game does something that other games have tried or have done before, but not with the same intention in a new level. This is more focused on the right balance between the two elements. It's always a puzzle game with platforming elements. It's not pure platforming game or pure puzzle game. It's always the right mix in every level, in every of the 5 chapters. 5? Yes, 5 chapters. And even though it starts being as a puzzle game and finishes as a platforming game, it feels like it's the right mix. It's always this mix. What you have in front, you always feel you are playing Toodee and Topdee, not something else. And this is something that I like, and it does it really well. So my first positive is thumbs up for the concept of the game, because it's well executed. And I think this is really important for every game, that the game achieves what it's pretending to be. That's my first positive. My second positive, something that I loved in the game, so it's the maximum level of positive, it's the ladybugs. I think they are a great idea for this game, because as I said, it's a concept, it's a mix of 2 things, and the ladybugs, they profit of the 2 things, because the ladybugs, in simple terms, is an extra challenge. I love it because it's optional, it's totally optional. You don't need to do that to finish the game. You don't have to go through those harder challenges or those optional objectives. You do them if you want. But if you choose to do them and you encounter the same issue as I did, I like slow-paced games for streaming. I play many kinds of games, but for streaming I like something relaxed. So in my case, I enjoyed doing the blue ladybugs, which are the ones that you get when you swap between characters the least amount of times. So you are free to swap as many times as you want. But like in puzzle games, if you solve the puzzle in the least amount of moves, you get a reward. This is the blue ladybug. And then you have the red ladybug, which is the one that you get when you finish the level very quick, in less than the allotted amount of time, which is there's two sides of this coin. This game is a coin and it has two sides. One side is the brainy, the thinky side, and the other one is the ability, the be fast. So the blue ladybugs are the ones solved by logic, and the red ladybugs, they are the ones solved with speed. You also have the third type of ladybug, which are the pink ladybugs, and you get those not in every level, but only on those levels where there is an animal, being a pig or a bat or a chuki. They are specific levels. If you get them to survive the level, so if you solve the level without them dying, you also get the pink ladybug, which is also extra. But it's a great addition. So this game, it would be good without the ladybugs. It would be the same game. But having these extra challenges and also being separated by genre, it's like the blue is like the puzzly one and the red one is the ability one. You get to choose. You don't have to do something that you don't want to do, and you get to choose which side you prefer, or you can do both and enjoy that part. So if you get to Toodee and Topdee because you like puzzle games, you can still do challenges that are focused on the puzzle side. And if you like more platforming or action games, you also get to do those extra challenges focused on speed and ability and action. So I think the inclusion of the ladybugs sets the game at another level that it's even more fun. It's the same game, but it takes profit of these two sides of the same coin. And I think the idea is great and it works. It's perfect and I love it. I love the idea. I think it works in this game because this nature of being two games in one, or two genres meet in the middle to make one game, and it takes profit of this nature of two sides. In this specific case, I think it suits it perfectly. And now, unfortunately, we get to the negatives. I didn't like everything of the game. So my first negative is something small, and it's the art of the game. Why? It's the smallest because I understand the nature of the game. In this game, you control two characters, one that is viewed from the front, one that is viewed from the top. So you control them differently because it's not the same controlling Mario in Super Mario World and Bomberman in a Bomberman game. You don't control them equal. So the controls are separated. You have some controls for 2D, some controls for Topdee. In regards of the art, it applies the same. So the visual style for the 2D side of the game is one, and the top-down view side of the game, it has a slight different art. The visuals are a little bit different. On top of that, so I understand there's like two games in one, but before you access a chapter, there are story bits at the beginning of the game or between chapters or at the end. These story bits, the visual style, it seems like they are not the glue that makes these two characters meet. It's like a third style. The visuals are different. It's not 2D or 3D or 2.5D. It's another thing. And you could say, okay, I understand while you are in the gameplay, you have two visual styles because you have two different games. And outside of these two games, you have another visual style because it's the story bits. It's like you are playing a game, any game, and the cinematics are CG, but the game is rendered in engine. Okay, there are two different visual styles. I can understand. In this case, because you have two games in one, it's 2 plus 1, no 1 plus 1. It's 2 plus 1. But on top of that, at the end of the game, the final levels, when something happens, I don't want to spoil it, something happens to these two characters, and then there's another type of levels, to say somehow, and that makes that these two games, there's a third version of the game, and the visual style is also different. So there are too many different visual styles, so too many art representations of these characters. In these final levels, where you are moving towards the screen, the villain, which is Toodee, just not a spoiler, it's at the beginning of the game, that's the villain of it's the paper guy. The visual style of this character, which is on the background, very big and prominent, it's one, but when you finish those levels and there's the final bit pieces of the game, final cinematic or ending, the visual style of this character is also different. To summarize, I understand the complexity of making everything in this game be cohesive and belong to one whole thing, because they are like a collage. There are bits put together, bits from different things. It's like you have newspaper bits and magazine bits and something else, like a flyer, and they come from different sides and put together they make a whole thing. But this whole thing, like in a collage, it makes one thing. It's a whole. But in this game, I don't feel these different art styles, they are cohesive. They don't make a whole. You feel like a bit jarring, like changing from one to the other one. There's something a little bit uncanny. And I made it the smallest of the negatives because it's a little bit jarring, but it's not like a big deal. You can blur your eyes and not see that it's not matching, to say somehow. That's the best way that I have to explain it. It's the different parts that make this game, they don't match visually. And I'll move on to the second negative, which is something worse than the art. It's something that it was annoying throughout all the game, and that is the control of the characters, especially Topdee. Topdee is viewed from the top, and you can move in squares. So when you move one, you move to the following square, either top, bottom, left, right. You choose. You don't play with the keyboard or the mouse. I played with the gamepad. I tried with the D-pad. It seems like it's not meant for the D-pad. You can play with the D-pad, but the control over Topdee, it's a little bit, how to say, it has slow reaction. It doesn't react properly, seems like. And if you play with the stick, it's like it doesn't completely move to the next square. It's like somewhere in the middle, and you are not sure to which square it's going to move, because you can also move diagonally. So it's not just top, bottom, left, right. It's also in the 4 diagonals. The problem with Topdee is that I think, I'm not sure because I didn't make the game, I didn't test it, I cannot say for certain, but what I can say for certain is what I felt, and what I felt is that the diagonals shouldn't be allowed. Probably there's some reason with the gameplay that made the developers include the diagonals for a reason, maybe to make it more flexible, to speed up the control or something. But imagine you are in a square and you move to the square to the right. When you move to the right, it's not like a commitment. And if you go diagonally, you are not sure if you are going to the top, to the right, or completely diagonal. Same happens when Topdee grabs a box, because Topdee can move objects, mainly boxes of different types. When you move a box and you drop it on the floor, sometimes you want to drop it next to it, but it drops it diagonally. Sometimes you want to move, but it's not quick enough and it ends up moving. It's weird. Sometimes you need to move a box that it's being fired from the side with fire, and you need to keep this box, but you need to do it diagonally. It's like kind of tricking the game. The control is not controllable. You don't feel like you are in control. It's a bit wonky. And I felt this mainly with Topdee throughout the whole game. It was really annoying, and most of the times that I failed a level, it was because of the control. So it's enough for me to say there's something weird. It could be better, it could be improved. Maybe it is as it is for a reason that I don't know, but still it's not good. And that's my 2 positives and 2 negatives. I like the concept of matching and joining these 2 characters that make a game from 2 different genres. I really like the extra challenge of the ladybugs. It's super good addition to the game, very intelligent and fun to do, but I didn't like the art style of these many things. It's like a cosmos explosion of ideas, but didn't make up a whole. And the control, especially for Topdee, is a bit clunky and wonky, not very precise. This leads to my final comment, which is a special mention. It's not really negative, it's slightly negative, but didn't make the cut. It's something that I didn't like, but it's not really important. And the thing is that when you finish a level, automatically takes you to the following level. That is okay while you are playing the main story, because that's what you want. When you finish a level, automatically takes you to the next level. But when you are trying to accomplish the ladybug challenges, you want to do one level. And when you finish it, especially with the red ladybugs, you want to completely finish. The blue ones, if you see you've made a mistake halfway before finishing the level, you can restart it yourself, the same level. But with the red ones, you need to finish the level and see your time, your mark. In this case, when you finish, if you fail the challenge, the game will take you to the following level. And then you have to go to the menu and go back to select the level again and select the previous level. And this is really annoying when you're trying to achieve the red ladybugs. Maybe the opposite would be worse. If you finish the level, it takes you to a menu that you can choose if you want to go next or previous or retry. Maybe having this menu every time you finish a level, it would be more annoying than being annoying only when you are doing the red bugs, probably. But still is annoying when you try to do the ladybugs and you fail the test of speed and you have to go back. Not a big issue, not a big deal, but still a little stain in there. I put it as a special mention. I think it's fair. And now I'll show you what my final score, and I'll explain why I felt as I felt. But if you've been listening to my opinion, it's a reiteration in another way, kind of. So, having said that, my final score for Toodee and Topdee is a Die Hard with a Vengeance out of 10. Because the game starts as a puzzle game with light platforming elements, and as you progress throughout the game, it swaps, it changes, and ends up being a platforming game with light puzzle elements, same as in the movie. The movie starts with riddles and enigmas, and the two protagonists, they need to cooperate to solve them, but by the end of the movie, it turns into an action movie, same as this game. Here you control two different characters that they don't belong together. They are completely, not opposite, but completely different, and they need to cooperate. Each of them, they have different abilities, and they need to use their abilities in their own side of the level, because one is front view and the other one is top-down view. They need to cooperate for a common goal, same as in the movie. And I feel like Topdee and Toodee are like John McClane and Zeus in Die Hard with a Vengeance, which is the third movie in the series. And if Topdee and Toodee were a movie, it would be this movie. So this is my final score for Toodee and Topdee, Die Hard with a Vengeance out of 10. And I'm happy with the final score because it matches like ring to a finger. So I wonder, play Topdee and Toodee, and do you agree with my opinion? You can let me know, tell me in the comments, and what would your final score be, or your positives and negatives, because I would like to know. Sharing is caring. That's all from me today. I'll thank you for watching and for being there, and I hope to see you next time. So until next time, bye now.